All right, let's see. We got audio? Yeah, we got audio. We got, yeah, we need to get this laptop out of the way because it's too bright. Just close it. There you go. That did it. All right, so who do we have here today? We have got Kyle is here. Hello, Kyle. Good to see your name and your face. I can see your face. And OG Gamer. OG Gamer. Or it could be just be G Gamer because the O is silent. And Tim, is it Timmed Rot Productions? Tim Trot Productions, of course. And Clint's here. All right. And Jonia, welcome. And is that Jacob? And where is my list of socials? Here they are. And Ken is here from Northern California. Ken, is that Southern Northern California or Northern California? And let's see, Rudy is here. And G Gamer, yeah, with a silent O. Is there anything out there you've ever heard that has a silent O? I guess there's some names where you have an E and an O together and you don't pronounce the O, you just pronounce the E. Yep. Hello, Rudy. It's good to see your name. And Bill is here. Welcome, sir. Glad to have you. Bill does some really cool stuff with vMix. You know, we probably ought to have you on the show sometime to talk about the kind of training that you do using vMix, because you were doing what would we call it? Social distancing virtual training before it was popular. Not that it's ever really been popular. Oh my goodness. All righty. Let's see. Today we're coming to you at 1080p 60 on YouTube. And I'm not sure if Facebook is pulling up the same. Bill is bashful. Yeah, that would be the day. Let's see what it looks like on Facebook. Am I missing any comments over there? Because it's not streaming to Facebook. What's the problem? This content isn't available now. Well, then let's see what the problem is. Allow access to camera, retry, use stream key. Your persistent stream key is being used by another video happening right now. Yeah. Let's, golly gee. Facebook has changed some things, and it's not as easy for me that's used to doing it one way to do it the new way. All right, so it says my video's ended, and now the screen's gone blank, and it's what they call their Facebook Live Producer. I'm in the scheduling aspect of it, and the screen just went blank. Okay, let's try again. But what was it? It was last week's. This live video has ended. Well, there you go. We'll get rid of that one then. Delete post. And let's see if this one is really live. Yes, that one is really live. So there we go. So let's post that one as the announcement. Sorry about this. Leland says, sounding and looking good on this end. Thank you, sir. And Jim Patterson from London, welcome. There are 8 people watching on Facebook. That's great. OG is the original gangsta. All right, very good. Got it, OG Gaming. Let's see, what else can we do with that? Continue watching. Yeah, we'll put that down there. It's really the comments I was after. So we really don't want to watch it. We can let it pause or freeze. We don't need to eat up the bandwidth. All right, so now we're live on Facebook. Oh yeah, let's look and see what Facebook is doing. Thank you. Facebook is doing auto. Come on, Facebook. I keep clicking things and it keeps taking me places. Let's see. All right, I'm going to click the settings icon. It says auto 480, but the highest it's going to let me do is 720. But vMix used to be able to do 1080 on Facebook. In fact, I've got some 1080, I think 1080 60 videos on Facebook in the past. But things are a-changing once again. There we go. Otis is here. Welcome, sir. Jan is here. Knock, knock. There you go. Rudy, Kyle, and Eduardo Fritas. Got it. Got it. Good evening from Brazil. Good evening. Let's see. Brazil must be, what? Brazil is not, it's not evening in Brazil, is it? It might be evening for Jan in Sweden. All right. Well, there we go. There we go. Let's see. Yeah. Leland says it's Facebook, Tom. 1080p and up are limited to the Level Up program. But there was a time in recent history, I'd say in the last couple of months, when vMix, when we were streaming to Facebook using vMix and getting 1080. Not sure why or how or whatever, but yeah. And Eduardo says it really is afternoon in Brazil. Okay, good. That makes me feel better. Makes me feel much better. Today's show, well, we ought to start the show before we tell you about the show. Oh, there's Marie. Yes, in Europe, it's evening now. We are so small. It is covered by 3 time zones. That's not small, 3 time zones. U.S. is covered, well, continental U.S. is covered by 4. You throw in Alaska and Hawaii, and it gets a little dicey. Yep. Yep. I'm going to blame everything on COVID. Yeah. Tom, you look a little pale today. Well, it's COVID, you know. All right. Dave Edwards is here. We can get started. Here we go. Ready, set, go. Yay. All right. It worked. Hey, I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiot. So glad that you are here to watch us today for live, for all of you all across America and across Europe and who knows elsewhere. Maybe the vMix guys got up in the middle of the night to watch this show from Australia, where it's probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning, depending on what time function they're in, whether it's summertime or daylight savings time or whatever we call it, different places in the world. Jan says it doesn't matter, it's just 2100. So there you go. But I'm delighted to have you here today because we have a very, very special announcement at the end of the program. Don't you hate it when people do that kind of stuff? Holy cow. Now, I don't have a special announcement. I do want to tell you a little bit about our setup today, and then we'll get into the meat of the show. We are coming to you from a PC that I built, I guess, a couple of years ago. It's based on an i7 8700K processor. It's not overclocked. It's just air-cooled. And we are coming to you with a variety of cameras, courtesy of PTZ Optics and Bird Dog. This particular camera right here is the Bird Dog P200 coming to you at 1080p 60, really 5994. I'm a little washed out. I didn't get my lighting checked out before I started the show, so that's my bad. For audio, we're using an Audio-Technica 897, AT897 condenser mic. It's a shotgun mic. And it's on the boom right above me right here. I'd say maybe 2 feet from my mouth. I really like that. I really don't like being tied down with something that's attached to something else that I'm going to pull off the table when I go. I also don't like, I was just going to close that little window because it was really glaring on my glasses, even more than this does. I'm not a big fan of packs that you wear on your hip that would give me a lav mic or an ear-worn mic or something like that. I like this because I can get up and go anywhere. It doesn't follow me into the bathroom. Yeah. How many of you guys have made that mistake? Well, not me, but I bet you have. And nobody wants to make that mistake. The lav mic, the Audio-Technica, I've actually got 2 of them, one over into the studio proper and then one here at the control desk. And I've been doing most of my shows from the control desk lately. Anyway, because the studio's covered up it's covered up with PCs we're building. That's my excuse. There are only 2 over there right now. The Audio-Technica goes into a Behringer, the Euphoria UMC 404 HD. How about that for a long model number? Holy cow. It is not a mixer. It is an audio interface. The difference being that it has 4 inputs and that each one of those inputs is available as a separate and distinct input in vMix. It's connected via USB, but I do use the Windows drivers for some things, but this is an ASIO driver, ASIO, which is a real low latency method of transporting video. And so of those 4 channels, I've got this mic on channel 1, so coming into vMix is a single audio input that takes that first channel from, excuse me, goodness gracious, takes that first channel from the Audio-Technica. And I could take the other 3. In fact, I've got that mic in the studio proper on channel 2, and if you've watched the show for a while, you know there have been times when I have left that mic on and this mic on at the same time, and so you get sort of an echo, kind of a, is it echo? Is it feedback? Well, it's 2 mics on at the same time with the same audio source here, but arriving at the PC at different times. Probably more because of my distance from the mic, short distance here, long distance there, than anything else. So the Audio-Technica, the Audio-Technica mic goes into the Behringer goes into the PC USB. The Behringer is also powered by the USB on the PC, so that's nice. And it has been plugged in and on for probably 2 years straight. I mean, there may have been times when I've been changing cables or moving cables around that I've unplugged it and it's turned off, but for the most part it stays on 24/7, as does this PC. I like to be able to access this PC from the house if I need to in the middle of the night to to look up some information or to do some preparation for a stream, or to help out a client by looking up how I do my setup here. Let's see, so the PC outputs to 2 monitors. So I've got 2 AOC monitors. These are, I think, 27 inches. They're the curved kind. They were on sale, and I bought one and I really liked it, so I bought a second, so it kind of gives me that panoramic view here. Really clear and probably a little low, but they're under the camera, so I don't have to. I guess I could put them down. I could raise them up and put them on either side of the camera. I've been toying with the idea of using a teleprompter and a monitor on the teleprompter so I can look straight into the teleprompter and see my guest, that kind of thing. I haven't done that yet. I've actually got one on hand, but I haven't gotten up to it. Tim, I haven't forgotten you. You're unforgettable. Let's see, what else are we doing? The video from both the Bird Dog and the PTZ Optics cameras are coming in via NDI and NDI-HX respectively. We've also got a Logitech C920 that we use on occasion, and then overhead we have a PTZ Optics I guess it's a Z-Cam, the variable lens Z-Cam. So it's actually a manual lens, manual zoom, manual focus. Not a big zoom. I think it's a 4x zoom with the manual focus. And we've got it mostly installed. I keep looking up above because I've bought some safety cables for them and I haven't installed them yet. So hopefully it doesn't come crashing down. The control surface is my X-Keys XK80, which I have customized thanks to PI Engineering with a couple of buttons. These are the vMix buttons that were very popular. and it's not a particularly marvelous setup of any kind. But I've also got attached a second keyboard, which is the PTZ Optics replay controller. And I've been using this to demo replay and to teach replay to some of the folks that we've provided PCs to. The other thing I've got that I really like is this little, not USB, it's definitely not USB. It is a Bluetooth keyboard and Bluetooth mouse by a company called Seenda, Seenda. And I like it because it's really small, it's really flat, it's really easy to get out of the way. The mouse that comes with it is equally flat, and both of them are rechargeable. They don't have batteries, which keeps the weight down and keeps the size down, especially in the mouse. I mean, they have batteries, but they don't have replaceable batteries. They have rechargeable batteries. So I wasn't sure I was going to like this guy because I didn't understand how he worked. I would leave him for a while, and he would go to sleep, of course, but I thought he died. I mean, there's a corollary to that somewhere in the world, isn't there? I thought he was dead, so I gave him CPR. But I found out if you press both buttons, that wakes him up. And I recharge him on the weekends when I'm not here. So I really like that guy. What else are we using for gear here? Lighting. I've got a single light, and you can see it in the reflection of my glasses now. I've got a single light above me. I think it's a newer. It's one of those inexpensive brands. I've got another light that is kind of my hair light, which is actually bouncing off the ceiling, and it is simply one of those clamp lights that you get at the hardware store, but it's got an LED bulb in it that's the same color temperature as this one here. And then I've got another lamp over here to my left, which is why this side of me is well lit and this side is in the shade. I'm not attempting three-point lighting, but that's kind of what it amounts to. The backdrop behind me is actually real. Well, it's faux brick, it's vinyl, but it's not a green screen. I did get some, I don't have it within reach. I did get some of, you've probably seen these. It's a green screen, which is probably, I guess, about a 5-foot circle, and it mounts on the back of your chair. They sell them out of China. I'm not a big China fan, but I went ahead and bought some to use as giveaways. And in fact, folks that are taking the vMix 101 class right now, some lucky student at the end of the class is going to get one of those. It's pretty nice, and vMix does a good job of a key on a green that's not very far behind you. We were talking about that yesterday in the class, because yesterday's class was actually on chroma key, and so I threw that on my chair to show it off and to illustrate how chroma key works, and it does a really good job. And it was lit simply just by the regular lights. I didn't have any special lighting on it, and it still did a good job. Now it's round, so there are times where let's see, it would be right here, where it doesn't get that little space up there or that space there, but I can zoom the camera in and it'll be fine. So let's see, that's audio, that's keyboards, that's lighting, that's, oh yeah, and we're using vMix. vMix just released a new update last night, I guess. We're now up at, what does it say? 24.0.0.57. So it's a release that went from .56 to .57. We'll talk about that in just a second. It is version 24. We've been using version 24 since it was a beta, since it was a baby. And I think we may have had a glitch or two early on, but it's been bulletproof for everything I need it to do. We are using, let's see, let me give you all the stats here. We are using 66 inputs in vMix right now. And cameras, NDI inputs, vMix calls. I keep all my vMix calls. I've got 8 vMix calls. I've been using the same numbers for months, maybe more than a year. In fact, it even transferred from vMix 23 to vMix 24. So all my correspondence with guests, I'm just doing a cut and paste that has the password in it. And so all my past guests better not call during a show, because you'll roll over somebody else. It's vMix 24 Pro, and so we do have the ability to have the 8 callers. We are using all of the audio buses, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, to send audio here and there, and in some cases just to enable those buses so that we can use those as a virtual green room with our guests. We are currently streaming. Oh, and the vMix setup is at 1080p 59.94, which we will refer to generically as 60. So we're streaming 1080p 60 to YouTube. We're also streaming that to Facebook, but Facebook is dumbing that down to 720. I haven't checked the YouTube feed to see if that's doing 1080p 60, but it should. Let's check that real quick. 1 second here. Setting is 1080p 60. Okay, good. So that is an option. Thank you. It is doing 1080p 60, says OG Gamer. The lights, I think, are 5500K, and K means Kelvin, Kelvin, 5500 degrees Kelvin, and Kelvin is a measurement of light color. So if you're not familiar with that, these tend to be more on the bluish side than on the warmish side, more towards sunlight. I think 6500 is considered the relative equivalent to daylight. So slightly less than daylight, but not near the warm white, which would be, 2500 to 3200, something like that. I have done streams using 3200, I think, and they were just a little too warm for me. I like the brighter light. We're recording the output to the secondary drive, a solid state drive on the PC. The PC, to tell you the rest of it, it's I think today we're using an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 2060, maybe. I swap cards out a lot as I test different configurations. 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 500 gigabyte M.2 solid state drive, and then a terabyte M.2 as our recording drive. What else can I tell you? I think that's got it. We're also running vMix Social, which allows you, if we were in the pre-show, you saw in the pre-show, let's do a quick switch over to the pre-show. That is the output of vMix Social for, what would you call it? I would call it for just YouTube. Facebook groups, vMix Social can't get access to Facebook groups to glean those comments. And we used to stream to Facebook pages, but frankly, it was just an exercise in frustration or futility, because nobody watched our page and there weren't any comments on that page. So we said, well, let's conserve the bandwidth, and we can improve the bandwidth on our other feeds. So we're streaming two destinations today: Facebook group, the Streaming Idiots group, and the YouTube page, which is embedded in our website. Now, we're using a persistent stream key. I don't think they call that a persistent stream key in YouTube anymore, if they ever did. But that produces a unique broadcast URL. Facebook was it? No, excuse me. YouTube.be / whatever. And so we pick up the after the slash, those 11 characters after the slash. That's the unique ID for that particular live stream on YouTube. And we use it with an embed code that we've carefully formulated over the years. And so we just update those 11 characters in our embed code, both for the video and for the chat. So if you go to easternshorebroadcasting.com and go to the Watch Now page, you'll see we've got a embed of the video at the top of the page, and then right below it, we have an embed of the chat. And both of those actually will pop out. So if you want to go crazy and put one on one monitor and one on the other, you can do that. It also is kind of fun. I'll do this when I watch the vMix Funtime live show, is to have them up on the big screen with video, and then have either a phone or a tablet with the chat on it, so that I can keep up with the chat but still see them pretty live. That's a lot of fun. I'm trying to think, is there more to the setup? You take so much of this stuff for granted because you do it so many times. We're using, I don't know how many. Can I show you? Yes, I can. I bet I can show you. Hang on one second. Let's set up a quick screen grab, a local desktop capture of display 2. That's it. And see if I can put my shortcuts on that. And make them all available to you. I can do that, but then I can't switch to that, can I? Nope, won't let me switch to it. So let's cancel that out. Hang on one second. We're just going to cut to a blank page. If I had paid more attention earlier. And this is my shortcut page. Does that window resize? No, it doesn't. Okay. So you can see I've got a lot of MIDI notes. Those are my X keys, XK80. That's number 1. Then there's a joystick I have installed. I didn't tell you about that because I'm not using it right now. And then there's the X keys replay controller. And then there are just some keyboard shortcuts. So I don't know how many shortcuts that ends up being, but it's a bunch. A lot of them, frankly, are with the instant replay controller. So that's where they come from there. But a lot of them are also just test shortcuts, when I'll say, okay, I want a shortcut to be able to do this. And I'll have one shortcut like the A button, and I don't dare touch it because no telling what it's going to do. That will do 4 or 5 different things. Now the opening and the closing that you see are a combination of shortcuts and triggers, and I think there's even a script thrown in there that does something. Let's see if we can look it up again. I'll show you that page again. Let's go there and see if we can show you these scripts. Scripting, yeah, we've got a couple here. It's probably this one right here that allows me to fade an input. How about that? That's all that script does. So it's nice to know. Anyway, there's a nice scripting group that has been started since, I guess, last week or the week before. Jan and Marie started the vMix scripting on Facebook. So if you're not already a member of that, you can join. It should be pretty easy. Let's see. Otis is asking, have you streamed to Zoom Webinar? No, I haven't streamed to Zoom Webinar, but like most of you, I've used the output of the external output on vMix to become my camera in Zoom so that I can do all sorts of fancy stuff with lower thirds and what have you. And Otis says we're using 75 inputs. Well, look, this is not a contest to see if yours is bigger than mine, because it is. That's okay. That's quite all right. We've got some interesting projects going on in the studio today, or last week, and continuing into next week. One of them is a camera, or a very small broadcasting setup for our local high school softball team. And what we've done on the engineering on this is really pretty cool. We've taken the PTZ Optics Z-Cam, the variable lens Z-Cam, and we haven't installed it yet. This is all here in the studio, but this is the engineering for it. And we are going to hook it up via Ethernet and use power over Ethernet. And within the camera itself, the firmware of the camera will allow you to put in a streaming destination, so the camera will stream. So and we've done this with some other places, really pretty cool. So the camera is going to be attached. We may do a separate power supply for it, but the idea is that when the power to the camera is turned on, the camera will begin streaming, and when the power to the camera is turned off, the camera will stop streaming. And so we're going to mount the power supply to the camera and attach it to a light switch in the press box. So the idea, they wanted something that was very easy to use and had 100% chance of success every time. So we're going to have an electrician put in a light switch that will be used simply to start the streaming and to stop the streaming. And we'll, in addition to the outlet that the power supply will be plugged into, we'll also have one of those on-air lights that will be powered by that same switch. So you flip the switch, the on-air light goes on, the camera starts streaming. You're ready to turn it off, you flip the switch off, the on-air light goes off, and the camera stops streaming. Part of the trick was to get audio into the camera. At the venue, they have a sound system for the loudspeakers there, so that they can announce, what's going on in the game, balls and strikes, and those types of things. But we didn't want to necessarily key straight into that. We wanted to have our own mic so we could pick that up as ambient, but also pick up the ambient sounds there in the venue, cheering, whatever it might be. And so we're working with a company that makes, what do they make? They make outdoor PTZ enclosures. A company called Dotworks, DOTWORKZ, I think is how it's pronounced. And it's really DOT, Department of Transportation, because they do all they're probably not the only ones, but they do the bulletproof covers, the snowproof covers, the heatproof covers for cameras that you would see on big roadways. And so that's what we're going to put the camera in. And they also have a special audio attachment for that, where you can mount a microphone that'll pick up ambient audio. The problem is, what is the problem? The problem is that that microphone is a microphone, and it's not a line out on the microphone. It's a mic jack. But the jack on the camera is line in. So we had to find a way to power the mic so that we could get audio from it, and that it would be line level and not mic level. And so we found a device, I wish I could remember the name of it, that basically it's smaller than my fist, that will do just that. It'll take 5 volts from a USB and power, puts enough power in there to convert the mic over to, it's coming in 3.5 and it's going out 3.5. So I guess it's not converting it in any way. It's just it's converting from mic level to line level. but it'll also do an XLR mic. So it's a pretty neat little attachment. And so we'll bundle all of that up in the case and have it all powered by the switch, so that when they're ready to go, it turns on. When they're ready to turn off, it turns off. And so it will be, it won't be bulletproof, but it will be foul ball proof, and it should be vandal resistant. I won't say proof, but resistant. So that's an interesting project. Sorry I went so long with it, but there was so much to it. And somebody out there is going to say, oh, that's great. Put it on a light switch and the camera streams itself. Yeah, let's do that. We've also got, we've got 2 church projects going on here. We've got actually, no, sorry. One of them, the third project is also a church project, but it's an AV integrator that reached out to us to build a system for them to go into a church. And then what is the, and then there's a TV station in Nassau, Bahamas that we're building a system, actually just built it, shipped it yesterday to them to use in their TV station. So Living Water CVA says using a lighted power switch would make it easy to see the camera is on or off. Depends on where the switch is. In this case, the switch has to be under lock and key, so that of course nobody can flip it on or off. But we want the on-air light to be actually on the outside, so that as people are leaving the venue, they can look over and say, "Oh, forgot to turn the camera off." So. And we're hoping it isn't the kind of thing that spurs spectators on to say things that they might not otherwise say. We'll see. And if it doesn't work, we'll move it somewhere else. It's a fun project, and it's been great to help out. We're doing actually the same thing in the swimming venue that the school uses for competition, so they can have one switch, and we'll mount we're going to mount the camera. I think we're going to mount it in an enclosure that includes some air conditioning, probably some dehumidification, because it's going to go in a swimming pool area that's enclosed, indoor Olympic pool. So anyways, fun projects to work on. Not that the other ones aren't fun as well. We've got folks that are trying to install, PTZ cameras into a 100-year-old former schoolhouse converted into a church. And talking with them today about, running cable under the church, and that the columns are hollow, and so we can get cable into the columns. And it's really, really fun to work on those kind of projects. So that's what's going on here at Streaming Idiots Eastern Shore Broadcasting. If you were one, and you probably weren't really wondering, were you? No, you weren't. So yeah, I've been wanting to do a show about all of this stuff for a while and talk about it. And probably should have had some pictures instead of just talking, but my picture time this morning was taking up with talking with other people, so my apologies. But I hope you got the gist of what we're up to. We're going to switch over to the post show here, and I want to answer some of your questions, especially Ken's question. So we'll be right back. We'll be right back. And we're right back. Yes. Okay. So Otis says, one church I'm helping keeps getting copyright strikes using tracks for singing. They're transitioning to Zoom webinar to get around Facebook and YouTube strikes. Are they really strikes? That's the question, because we get notifications from Facebook and YouTube every week at the church saying that we're using copyrighted material, but essentially that's it. And I know with YouTube, it basically, the warning is you can't monetize this content because it's using somebody else's copyrighted material. Well, we're a church. We don't want to monetize the content. We just want people to watch it. So we've just ignored that stuff. Now, on Facebook with this show, I will get a notification that somebody, a third party, has filed a claim against my content for containing copyrighted materials that they own the rights to. This has happened probably 6 times in the last 3 weeks. And each time I have challenged the claim, and the claim has been withdrawn. So I think there are people out there that would like to hit me up for money, essentially. And I'd simply say, no, I own the rights to this content. I mean, they would like claim something like this shot right here was copyrighted content for them. And, because maybe they think they have the rights to the brick wall or to this lower third or something, my image. And so we challenged them, and they went away. So there we go. Jean has a question about YouTube. Fire away. Well, Chris, you have missed everything. Yes, there we go. Hey, Ron's here. Good. Ken says, any more details on NAB this year? Ken, I haven't had any more details. Sandy and I are planning on going, and we are in the process of trying to find an appropriate shack to hang out in and make some plane reservations. I plan on being there the whole week and are going to count it a legitimate business expense. And I think, as I mentioned, I want to, of course, host the Streaming Idiots meetup on Monday night, and then also host breakfast every morning. Well, not really host it because I'm not buying it, but you can join me for breakfast every morning in the South Hall dining room, and we'll have a different speaker each morning to talk with us. I think we're going to try to get Joe DeMax to come in via vMix call and speak with us. And John Mahoney said that he would speak with us one morning, and so I'm looking for some other folks. So I think that's going to be fun. Yes, Chris is on daylight saving or coming off daylight saving. That's probably what it is. Yep. So Ken, my thought is that I will probably hang out at some of my favorite booths. I'll probably hang out with PTZ Optics. vMix is not going to be there, at least last I heard. Bird Dog is not going to be there, last I heard. There was some possibility of some sort of virtual booth or something like that, but I haven't heard any more details on that. I'd be happy to help out with something like that if it comes to pass. I probably will want to see what's going on with the folks at Magewell and at Yuan, basically just circulate and probably take in Black Magic, see what's going on with B&H. The streaming world is a big, big world, but in other ways it's not a big, big world. And so it'll be interesting to see what kind of flavor NAB takes on. I remember it was probably 3 or 4 years ago when drones just dominated NAB. and every booth had what looked like have you ever seen those professional wrestling cage matches where they have the cages around the side and then the net over the top? Well, that's what they had for all those drones. I guess in case one of them got away, it wouldn't wipe out the whole rest of the rest of NAB. And then other NABs, there was one NAB where NDI was really a big deal, and NewTek had a big dramatic introduction on that. That was definitely talk worthy. So we'll see. I've heard that there might even be a bowling outing. So we'll see. Speed bowl, as it were. Let's see. Let's walk back and see what we've missed in the chat. There we go. Brazil is on Central Time. There you go. That's an answer. That's good. Tim says, skip a week and you forget me. That's right. I'm sorry, what was your name again? And Ken says, at least when we were talking about this 45 minutes ago, that it was 5 a.m. Friday in Australia. Depends on which part of Australia. Australia's got, I think, at least 3 different time zones. Yep. Otis says, have you tried streaming to Facebook using external output? It reduces latency. I haven't tried that. I'll have to give that a shot and use it as a webcam. There we go. And Marie says the last time zone is England because they have their own time zone. Nobody else in the world shares that same time zone. That's amazing. All right, let's go back to the beginning here. And John, did you have your question about YouTube? You want to type that in and we'll have a go at it. Yep. OG Gamer says there are people submitting video to Facebook copyright database with content they don't actually own the rights to. Ha ha. That's right. Like color bars. Who was it? Was it Rich that got dinged for color bars? All right. Jean is asking, is there a way to use the same stream key for YouTube more than once? I use the same stream key every week. The key doesn't change, but the resulting broadcast in YouTube does change. So when I did a stream last week, I used the same stream key, ends in like MUX7 is what my key ends in. But when I streamed it last week, YouTube sent it to this YouTube, which had an 11 character designation. And this week, they'll take the same stream key and stream it to a different 11 character designation. So far as my website is concerned, I have to go into the website every week and change that 11 character designation in the embed code that I have in my website. And if you want, I can send you those codes. Just let me know. Marie said, my previous comment was about what could happen at NAB. Oh, maybe everything will be geared towards Teams Zoom usage. Aha, that's a good thought. Yep. Although, you know, the feeling here in Alabama and beginning to be this way in other places in the U.S., Florida and Texas for sure, is that this COVID thing is winding down, that enough people are being vaccinated, enough people have had the disease or had the virus like me and built up antibodies, that it is, it's going to kind of drop down to what I would consider flu-like levels. It also appears that the vitality, that's not the right word, the deadly nature of this disease is that it hasn't been as deadly for as many people lately as it was early on, perhaps because we're just treating it better. So I have a feeling here in the U.S., it's much, much, much more hopeful that the fact that we can't gather in large numbers is ending. And so, if I'm a company and I'm thinking about a marketing effort, I'm probably not thinking on marketing to something that's ebbing. Just saying. So, and plus, I don't want to see any more junk about COVID stuff. I've had it up to here. All right, John says, are they showing up on the same YouTube account? Yes, they're showing up in my Streaming Idiots Eastern Shore Broadcasting page on YouTube, but just different videos each week, but with the same key on my part from the streaming, just a different video on the end. He says, the problem is we have a show where on the radio we air songs that cannot stream on YouTube or Facebook. So we stop after each interview portions. Ah, gotcha. Gotcha. Well, the alternative would be to have a hotkey, a shortcut that would mute that from the TV station and replace it with audio that was authorized by Facebook or YouTube. I know both of them have a library of music that you can use in place of something like that. That could, think of it as background music, maybe. Um, the other thought that I would think, and this is my marketing person coming out, is that if there is a pause where the radio station is playing songs, but the live stream can't play the songs, I would come up with some alternate content for the live stream. That would be live stream only content, whether it's, playing a previous interview from last week, playing, some pre-approved music, or maybe even playing depending on the amount of time available, playing a long form advertisement. I could think, if we're talking about 5 minutes, I can think of lots of folks that would love to have a 5-minute time block to be able to talk about their business or their profession or their industry or something like that. Or there's even the possibility of doing public service type stuff during that time, since it's time that you've already kind of paid for, and you can't put copyrighted content in it. Are there local charities that have video that you can stream, 4 or 5 times a day in that time spot? That's certainly a great way to generate some goodwill in the community. I know when we first started out live streaming, golly, 2007, and we wanted to encourage people to advertise. We were live streaming soccer, football for all of these folks on the other side of the world, and we wanted to. So during the times like halftime and pregame and timeouts, we wanted to be able to show advertising, but we didn't have any advertising, so we downloaded off the internet some 30-second spots, video spots, and put those into our advertising. And we did one for, abused children. We did one for the Red Cross. We did, I don't remember now. It's so long ago. But the idea was that we would have commercials. We would have advertising that wasn't really paid advertising, but kind of kept the concept that this was an advertising time, and then we were able to move paid advertisers into that time, as the notoriety of what we were doing kind of caught on, and people decided they wanted to be affiliated with us. So, not sure if that's helpful, but it sure was fun to talk about. Yes. All right. Leland says we have a station here who streams every day, and what they do is mute the music and then unmute the interviews, commentaries, news, etc. Yeah. Yep. We have a local talk station that actually uses vMix. I know because I sold it to them and trained them on how to use it, and I don't think they do any music. I think they're just all talk. So I think they're okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't need to bring that up. All right, Jacob says, when using my Stream Deck, I would love to use the vMix plug-in in a multi-action situation, but the vMix plug-in can't be placed in a multi-action, right? Any suggestions? I am not a Stream Deck guy. There's only so much time in the day. I'm sorry. I don't have an answer for you, but I bet somebody else does. I know there are a number of folks in the Facebook group that is titled, I think, vMix User and Training, vMix User Group and Training. the one that Eric Pratt manages. And I think there are a lot of Stream Deck folks in that one. So I would post there and ask them. Jan says, I'm somewhat ashamed to admit it, but this C malware has been pretty good to me. Basically not impacted me and only rarely annoys me. C malware. Okay. And Jan is answering Jacob's question. Central control or companion? Yes, says Leland. There you go. Fun, fun. And John says you can assign multiple shortcuts to the stream button, to the same button on the Stream Deck. There you go. That's right. That is true. That are true. Let's see. Jake says, John had the answer. Still happy. And Tom, you can't know everything. That's not what I tell my wife. Yes, I know that. No, it's funny how I remember it was probably 20 years ago, maybe more, looking at technology and all there was going on in the world and how it was developed. I realized then I would never keep up with it, and I had to sort of pick my slice that I was going to be really knowledgeable in. And part of my slice is not my phone. I mean, I know some things about my phone, but I am not an avid Samsung tweaker fanboy user. I like what it does for me, but I'm not diving into it. I love broadcasting, but there's some parts of broadcasting that I haven't gotten into at all. The whole automation portion that Giles is worked up, haven't gotten into that at all. I think it's definitely worthy, but just haven't gotten into it. There you go. Gary, welcome. Gary says you can set up a script in vMix to do multiple things and have your Stream Deck vMix button run that script. There you go. There you go. Very similar to what John was saying. And Leland says, I just asked my kids and sooner or later they go, I don't know. And I reply, glad to see you have outgrown that. Yeah, there you go. Michael's here. Hello, Michael. If you don't have a genuine need, it's hard to get into some very deep topics. Yes, I agree. And, sometimes some of these topics are more for enjoyment. And so I don't feel a need to number one, remember it, or number two, get into it very deeply. I watched a video on YouTube last night about the was it Evercare? Was that the name of the freighter that got grounded in the Suez Canal? And an engineer was doing a kind of a forensic diagnostic of what went on and how and why, and what happens when big heavy ships go through narrow channels, and the water that gets displaced, that type of thing. And that was fascinating, and I really enjoyed it, but I'm not going to pursue it. It was fascinating. And in one day, it had 1/3 hits on that video. What was it called? Something like Engineering Made Simple or something like that. Ever Given. Thank you. Yes, that's what it was. And then other things that are technology based, at least for me, like YouTube. I enjoy YouTube tremendously. I have a TV that now connects to YouTube flawlessly and easily. And so I find that instead of watching the news, I'll watch a video on YouTube. I'm sure happier when it's over. And if you have an interest in things mechanical, diesel engines, gasoline engines, things of that nature, there is one in particular I would suggest. This guy, this farm boy up in northern Illinois named Wes. has a commercial garage in his backyard, and so he's taken on clients that drive to his house and pull into his backyard. And he has some of the I think coolest videos of repairing these engines. Very personable. He'll pull his wife and his young son in on occasion to chat. It's called Watch Wes Work. Watch Wes Work. And I commend it to you if you enjoy that kind of stuff. And there's a whole class of fix it for everything out there. But this is one that just caught my eye. There you go. Kill Guy Gissa equals guess. You act like you know the answer when you probably don't. Yeah, sometimes that'll get you in trouble. I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. Well, would you do it for me? Well, better go to YouTube and find out how to do it. Yep. Well, guys, I got to go back to work. These computers won't build themselves. So I appreciate hanging out with you. And Marie sounds a bit like mansplaining. It's funny. I bet Marie is the smartest person in the room most of the time. Yep. All right, guys. Y'all take care. Have a great week. I'll see you next week. And we'll have some more, even more compelling content next week for you. In the meantime, have great weeks, and y'all take care. And if I can help you in any way, let me know. We're fading to black.